Jesus, the very thought of thee with sweetness fills my breast, but sweeter far thy face to see, and in thy presence rest. Our voice can sing, nor heart can frame, nor can the memory find a sweeter sound than thy blessed name, O Savior of mankind. O hope of every contrite heart, O joy of all the meek, to those who fall, how kind thou art, how good to those who see. Jesus, our only joy, be thou. As thou our prize wilt be, Jesus, be thou our glory now, and through eternity. I'm a little kid, through and through. It's true. So I am terribly excited about something that I'd heard once, but didn't research to prove to be true. And in the making of this talk, I got to dig deeper, and I found out how true it is. As a gardener myself, I have this fascination with plants, and you're definitely getting a plant metaphor today. But as I thought about Jesus, the very thought of thee, I thought, as Christ stated by Henry B. Eyring, knew by revelation, or could have known by revelation how to succor us, but he chose to come and experience all of our pains in the atonement and succor us in the flesh, that he would know how to cater to us. He also was given the duty of creating the world with his hands, and his voice, and his power, and his faith. And when you think about how excited I am about plants, and how I sacrifice to daily check on them and make sure they have the water they need, Think about how much Christ loves us after creating an entire world, breathing life into man, and dying for us. There was a point where I doubted the divinity of why we should sing about someone and bow the knee and confess. And I thought about all the World War II movies that we have, where we've dedicated thousands of people in man-hours to telling the story of one man who died to save another in a heroic act, and yet Christ died for us all and took on infinite sorrow and grief. So that's why we write songs about him. That's why we revere him and worship him, for his infinite sacrifice. In that perfect love, considering him the good shepherd, as he is called. Also interchanging the word shepherd with good farmer. I could paraphrase, but again, in my glee, I want to tell you exactly what this article says about lightning and how it splits the sky for miles at a time at 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. More hot than the sun. And it takes that to take the nitrogen in the air and split those molecules and allow it to combine with the oxygen and form nitrates. The nitrates are a compound that don't exist until the storm comes. And it's that fertilizer that helps the plants grow. If you let a tomato plant grow too tall without pruning it, it also won't bear fruit because it doesn't think it's time. So a storm that breaks a few branches off a plant tells it it's time to start making fruit, to not grow too tall. It's amazing to me how it all can work in sequence and how it's a very good metaphor for us walking through storms and the kind of love Christ has for us, that he would allow us to go through the storms of our life. Because without the storm, we may not get the fertilizer that helps us grow. So how do you turn barren ground that seeds are thrown on into fertile soil? A storm. So don't think that if you're going through a stormy time in life, that it doesn't mean that the Savior doesn't love you. You need to let God love you the best way he knows how, not the best way you think you know he should love you. He's the good shepherd. He took the time to be perfectly obedient and thus connect with our Father in heaven who does know all. And in that, they work in sequence to help us learn our lessons. Our trials are catered to us. Whatever's hard for you isn't hard for me, and that doesn't matter one bit. What matters is that you know where the source of love is and how to let him love you. No experience that you have with a human should dictate the narrative you give God on how he treats you or how he feels about you in your imperfection. I don't know if I made that clear, but people suck sometimes. As much as they're great when they're on the errand of the Lord and they have the Spirit, but sometimes they're not so great and they do terrible things. We cannot put our fears about people on our relationship with God, because then we won't let ourselves love or be loved by Jesus Christ. And it's only in having those experiences with that love that we would be able to share it with other people. And in that, we make bonds that are eternal. Moving forward, there is a song that I grew up with my voice teacher teaching me from Carousel, an old Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. And I encourage you to go put these words with the music because it makes all the difference. It's "You'll Never Walk Alone." And it says, when you walk through a storm, keep your chin up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. I remember the story of the general authority with a currant bush, and he was slated to move up in the world from lieutenant to whatever he was progressing toward. I don't have the military terminology to make that right, but there was an anti-Mormon leader above him in the ranks that cut him down and didn't let him progress. And he went back to the metaphor of him in his garden, trimming and pruning his currant bush because it was good for the bush. Again, so if you're in a storm or you're feeling pruned, trust in the Savior and put your hand in his to know that whatever you will endure is good for you and helping you grow and to bear fruit. Because if not, you'd be useless, like the fig tree that Christ decided to show his power of destruction to his disciples by withering. Because you should be good, but you should also be good for something. So take the pruning and be prepared to bear fruit. The second and last point that I hope to make today is I was reading Alma 5 over and over again, which does state that if you have once before felt to sing the song of redeeming love, can you feel so now? But it also goes on to make really extensive metaphors about shepherding and how if a ravenous wolf entered into our flocks, we would not permit the wolf to stay, but we would chase it out, and yea, if we could, we would kill it. Paraphrase. We are subject to other metaphors. The one where it talks about having two wolves inside you, and the one you feed is the one that wins in your decision making, which requires you to spend more time with the Word of God. And I just want you to take away the idea of casting out a wolf in your life. If you've got something that is going to destroy this herd of sheep that the good shepherd... Now, I'm going to stop paraphrasing and read you some Alma 5 because it's actually quite beautiful. He says that he'll take any sheep and call it by his name. And now I say unto you that the good shepherd doth call after you, and if you will hearken unto his voice, he will bring you into his fold, and ye are his sheep. And he commandeth you that ye suffer no ravenous wolf to enter among you, that ye may not be destroyed. So he's not only telling you it's a good idea to get wolves out of your life, he's making it a commandment. And beyond that, he doesn't care what kind of shape you're in as a sheep. You could be a pretty gnarly looking sheep, and he's still calling after you, and he will invite you into his herd, and he'll take you, and before the summer comes, he will shear your wool coat, because you need different things at different times in your life, so that you're not too hot. And in the winter, he's going to let you grow long and hairy. I don't know what metaphor that is, don't take it too far. But it's true, so that you won't freeze in the winter storms. And you'll be in a flock with other sheep. And you'll have a shepherd who, if you, through fasting and prayer, like Alma, can meditate on the word to know it's true, you'll have a shepherd that if you should ever get lost, he will come and find you. Because that's what he does. He leaves the 99 and he goes after the one. So I would encourage you to not only cast out and identify through prayer any wolves in your lives, but also do whatever you can to pray and fast on the word that you can know it is true, and to act on whatever prompting or revelation you've been given, that you can know there is a Savior who is a good shepherd, who does call after you, who will come find you when you're lost if you answer to his call. And I'll leave that with you. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.